Chinese rocket debris with toxic yellow smoke falls in Guizhou, residents flee in panic. Netizen exposes personal experience, CCP customs strictly inspects, held in small black room for 2 hours. China's marriage rate plummets in first quarter, experts analyze root causes. Deathbed testimonies of a Falun Gong practitioner subjected to organ harvesting. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Chinese rocket debris with toxic yellow smoke falls in Guizhou, residents flee in panic. On the 22nd, the Chinese Communist Party launched a Long March 2C rocket from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center in Sichuan Province. However, a shocking incident took place. As reported by CNN, a shocking video surfaced online shortly after the Long March 2C rocket was launched on the afternoon of the 22nd. The video allegedly shows a rocket booster plummeting over Xianxiao village in Guizhou province. Villagers can be seen scattering in all directions in panic, some covering their ears as the booster violently smashed into the ground, leaving behind a trail of yellow smoke. Villagers described the rocket's crash as being accompanied by a pungent odor and loud explosions. The satellite launch site in Sichuan province announced that it is conducting a rocket debris recovery operation near Xianxiao village in Xinba town. They have requested that the public keep a safe distance from the debris to prevent injuries from toxic gases and explosives. Additionally, all photography and video recording in the area have been prohibited. Rocket expert Marcus Schiller, a researcher at the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, identified that the fallen launcher appears to be the first-stage booster of the Long March 2C rocket. This booster uses a liquid propellant consisting of nitrogen tetroxide and unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine, UDMH, which is known to produce highly toxic and carcinogenic orange smoke. Western space agencies have largely discontinued the use of these highly toxic propellants. However, China and Russia continue to employ them. While most orbital rockets' first-stage boosters are safely directed into the ocean after separation or are landed safely for reuse, the Long March rockets of the CCP typically re-enter the atmosphere uncontrollably. Their landing sites are unpredictable, which consistently raises concerns as there is a possibility that they may crash into populated areas. Netizen exposes personal experience, CCP customs strictly inspects, held in small black room for 2 hours. Privileged families within the Communist Party have been exposed for concealing substantial wealth overseas. Concurrently, it is becoming progressively harder for ordinary Chinese citizens to go abroad due to an increase in the rigor of customs inspections conducted by the CCP. In detail, over the last few days, an online post by a netizen describing an incident with a Shanghai resident attempting to travel to the UK has gained attention. At the Beijing Capital Airport, during border control in the early morning hours, 2 customs officers initially questioned them. "What are your plans in the UK? What job will you undertake there? Why do you not work in your own country?" After 5 or 6 such questions, the officers seized the netizen's passport and escorted them to a small room to examine their phone thoroughly, including chat records, Weibo, and photo albums. They also made calls in the early hours to the netizen's mother to delve into the family's background, asked various questions about the family, and didn't stop there. They contacted the roommate with whom the netizen shared an apartment, checking the rental contract, and recorded the entire interrogation process on video and audio. The netizen reported that within the 2 hours of this inspection, they observed at least 5 other individuals being detained. These individuals were not heading to Southeast Asia but to various countries in Europe, and they were not all from Fujian province. One was a local from Beijing, and another was going abroad for a preparatory course. This pattern of detention suggests that the CCP's customs checks are not merely aimed at preventing illegal immigration. The exposé highlighted the extreme stringency of CCP customs checks. It mentioned a case where a female traveler, who was on annual leave, was asked to provide her boss's name and was required to call her boss and colleagues at 1 in the morning, indicating a complete lack of privacy. Furthermore, the exposé noted that the customs officers who conducted these checks warned that the procedures would become even more stringent in the future. The rising trend of emigration from China is tied to the nation's economic downturn and escalating political pressures. Elena Yen, a Shanghai resident who recently fled to the United States, shared in an interview with the Epoch Times that the lockdown in Shanghai was a wake-up call, prompting her decision to leave China. Elena Yan, formerly an accountant in Shanghai's Suwei district and holder of what is referred to as a golden rice bowl, observed numerous tragedies during the lockdown. Yan described the lockdown as a political campaign that not only devastated Shanghai's economy but also tortured the citizens mentally, leaving them without hope or a future in the city. Although many Chinese citizens wish to leave, the CCP restricts their ability to do so. The South China Morning Post reported this month that not only civil servants but also executives from state banks, universities, and hospitals must now surrender their passports and apply for permission to travel abroad. In contrast, the elite families of the CCP enjoy the freedom to travel at will and have transferred vast amounts of wealth overseas to conceal it. As reported by the Washington Times on June 9, a report released by the U.S. Congressional Research Service, CRS, in May revealed the concealed overseas assets of senior CCP officials, including Xi Jinping and other members of the Politburo Standing Committee. The Xi family alone has amassed wealth totaling at least $700 million. The stricter the CCP's control, the more the people want to escape. Currently, China is experiencing significant outflows of both talent and capital, with the CCP's reaction being to tighten border controls further. According to a well-known Canadian blogger, Gong, such measures only serve to heighten panic among the populace. Consequently, this pushes them even more towards wanting to escape. As for those who get their news from platforms like Douyin, WeChat, and Xiaohongshu, refers to a Chinese platform similar to Instagram, they're easily misled. They see the rosy figures the government puts out and believe the Chinese economy is thriving. As a result, they were slapped in the face by the United States. On Thursday, June 20, the U.S. Treasury Department pointed out a massive $230 billion discrepancy between China's customs data and the official trade surplus. They're demanding an explanation from the Chinese government, but Gong analyzes that it may be that one department is falsifying, and the other has not yet had time to falsify, and the two sides have not colluded. Those with the means have already run, refers to emigrated, leaving behind those who lack the resources or awareness of the looming crisis. To preempt any radical action from these individuals who might eventually discover they've been misled, the government is prioritizing stability. A recent online leak revealed that government agencies and state-owned enterprises are now required to compile reports on 5 lost personnel. These are individuals experiencing financial ruin, disillusionment with life, psychological instability, strained relationships, or mental illness. These entities are tasked with identifying and monitoring such individuals to prevent any potential acts of desperation that could undermine social stability. Furthermore, the CCP is cognizant of the increasing discontent and animosity among the populace but finds itself unable to ameliorate their living conditions. As a result, it employs a dual strategy of indoctrination and coercion to manage the populace. Simultaneously, it engages in significant foreign currency distribution as a means to boost its international stature and uphold its domestic rule. China's marriage rate plummets in first quarter, experts analyze root causes. In mainland China, the phenomenon of empty nest youths, young people who choose not to engage in dating, marrying, or having children, is growing. They are often described as the desperate generation. Data released by the Chinese Ministry of Civil Affairs on June 14, 2024, indicated that during the first quarter of the year, there were 1.969 million pairs registered for marriage in China. This is a decline from the 2.147 million pairs registered in the same period in 2023, amounting to a reduction of 178,000 pairs, or a steep 8.3% drop. The statistics show that in 2013, China's marriage registrations peaked at 13.47 million pairs. Since then, there has been a consistent decline over the next 9 years, with figures falling to just 6.835 million pairs in 2022, approximately half of the 2013 figures. From 2019 to 2023, the number of marriage registrations consistently remained below 10 million each year. Guizhou, a former June 4th student movement leader from Guizhou and now an artist, commented to the Epoch Times that now, many of my friends have children who are over 30 and remain unmarried. The oldest has a daughter who is over 40 years old and unmarried. Another close friend of mine, born in 1981 and now 43, has also chosen not to marry. Furthermore, his nephew and niece, who are about 25 years old and of marriageable age, are not interested in marrying. He said that they might engage in dating, but when it comes to marriage, that's out of the question. Over the past 3 years, the economic conditions have deteriorated, leading to massive layoffs by companies. This surge in unemployment has heightened survival pressures, causing a significant number of young people to lose interest in marriage. Guizhou added that among the people I know, including some who have finished their university or even postgraduate studies, a large number are unemployed and living at home. This is particularly true for those whose parents are minor officials. They're staying at home, and the number is not insignificant. They are constantly monitored by what I call my national security. These are young adults who, even a year or two after graduating from university, have not yet found employment. With the economy in a slump, many are struggling to put food on the table, focused solely on survival. Marriage has taken a back seat for most people. The priorities have shifted to figuring out how to get by, how to land a job, how to simply make ends meet. Simply put, survival has become the paramount concern. The root cause of unwillingness to marry, CCP's predatory economic development policies. The prerequisite for marriage now typically includes owning a house and a car, yet the prices for these remain prohibitively high. In major cities, the cost of a single home can reach into the millions or even tens of millions, and when combined with high daily living expenses, it becomes challenging for young people to afford housing in urban areas. Mr. Zhang, an economist and freelancer, elaborated to the Epoch Times that exorbitant property prices, a direct consequence of the CCP's economically exploitative policies, are a fundamental reason for young people's reluctance to marry. He detailed that the CCP has driven up housing prices through predatory practices, starting by designating the real estate sector as a pillar industry and inflating the real estate bubble. By doing this, they have essentially appropriated 30 to 40 years of future income from China's lower classes to cash out today. This kind of reckless, short-sighted development is akin to killing the goose that lays the golden eggs and is a model that jeopardizes future generations. He further noted that the CCP's economic model has not only driven up housing prices but also increased medical, educational, and child-rearing costs, which has contributed to the current trend of young Chinese opting out of marriage and childbearing. Lawyer Li from the mainland points out that the CCP's economic model has resulted in widespread poverty and excessive debt among the populace, burdens too great for the young to bear, leading to their diminished expectations for familial happiness. Even those young people who are employed are merely scraping by and cannot fathom the possibility of supporting a family, hence their reluctance to marry or have children, reflecting the harsh reality faced in China. Additionally, many young people have grown up watching their parents work tirelessly and save money for the family, making life seem difficult. Lawyer Li said, they see repeating the older generation's life, burdened with financial pressure and debt, as meaningless. This is a significant reason for their unwillingness to marry. On top of that, the lack of hope under this economic development model deprives young people of their dreams and the possibility of pursuing happiness. Young people are already in despair. According to data from the China Population and Employment Statistics Yearbook 2023, in 2022, the unmarried rate for urban residents aged 25 to 29 in China was 56.9%, and for those aged 30 to 34, it was 20%. Among them, the unmarried rate for urban residents aged 30 was 30.7%. Meanwhile, the unmarried rate for rural residents aged 25 to 29 was 47.4%. Guizhou believes that the Chinese government cannot reverse this trend. Young people are already in despair, not only without hope, but in despair. Regarding the impact of the continued low marriage rate on China, Guizhou said, it will lead to population decline and shrinkage, then a cultural disconnect. The impact is too extensive and significant. There will be no successors for the labor force, no successors for talent, and the economy will continue to decline. Meanwhile, Mr. Zhang believes that the current low marriage rate and low birth rate among young people in China cannot be solved in the short term because the CCP cannot change its totalitarian and autocratic rule, nor can it change its erroneous development approach. The income of the grassroots population cannot be improved. Deathbed testimonies of a Falun Gong practitioner subjected to organ harvesting. In July of the previous year, the World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong, WOIPFG, made public a case involving Zhang Xiuqin, a 46-year-old practitioner of Falun Gong from Harbin, Heilongjiang Province. It was reported that she had been forcibly harvested for her organs by the CCP and left her last words before her death. This is also the only first-hand testimony of a victim of live organ harvesting that has been preserved so far, exposing the CCP's evil crimes. Zhang Xiuqin, in her last recorded words before passing in 2019, stated, "By the time everyone sees this video, I will have already departed from this world. Please remember that I am a Falun Gong practitioner who was persecuted to death by the CCP through live organ harvesting. My name is Zhang Xiuqin. I was brought here this morning and forcibly had a kidney removed." Dr. Jiuyuan Wang, president and spokesperson of WOIPFG, shared that in December 2020, WOIPFG received a report from a doctor who was employed at a hospital known for conducting organ harvesting. One particular day, after he finished cleaning the operation table and managing the corpses, he witnessed a horrifying event. A woman, from whom organs had been harvested, was still alive. She shared her tragic experience of brutal persecution and having her organs harvested while still alive, shortly before her death. Falun Gong practitioner Zhang Xiuqin said that, at the Harbin's second detention center, I endured brutal persecution, faced retaliation, and was monitored and assaulted by other inmates, which damaged one of my kidneys, so this time they could only remove one. Both my heart and liver failed their inspections, were not harvested, thus I was fortuitously left clinging to life. Dr. Wang Jiuyuan, recounting the testimony of the doctor involved, on a whim, the doctor, took her to a basement used for storing supplies. I guess it was out of a doctor's instinct that I couldn't watch the patient die in front of my eyes. I administered some glucose and painkillers to her and stitched up her wound, staying by her side. Later that evening, when she awoke, she asked for my help. Zhang Xiuqin said that, the many of us who were detained together were taken away one by one, their fates unknown. It's impossible to count the number of Falun Gong practitioners who have been subjected to live organ harvesting over the years. May these atrocious and inhumane acts be brought to light soon. May all such evil cease. May no innocent person continue to be tortured and killed for their beliefs. I hope my death can awaken the conscience of the world. This tender woman, after enduring years of persecution by the CCP, chose her final moments to advocate for the values of truth, compassion, and forbearance, which are the three core principles of the spiritual practice Falun Gong, thereby unveiling the truth about the CCP's harvesting of organs from Falun Gong practitioners. In her last moments, she thought of the safety of others and the future of humanity. She didn't even have time to leave a word for herself or her family. The case of Falun Gong practitioner Zhang Xiuqin, who was murdered by live organ harvesting, is the first case in which a victim of the CCP's crime of live organ harvesting against Falun Gong practitioners reported her experience of being organ harvested alive, and in shocking detail. In 2015, the CCP announced that it would stop using organs from executed prisoners, and that voluntary organ donations from citizens would be the only source of transplanted organs. However, the murder of Zhang Xiuqin was committed in April 2019. This case once again proves that the CCP's evil crime of live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners not only exists, but has always been ongoing. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.